Welcome back. So FlySafair cancelled 26 flights on Monday, leaving passengers at major airports, including Tambo International Airport and Lanseria, stranded. Over 200 pilots have gone on a 14-day stay away over failed wage negotiations. Aviation analyst Mr. Phuthego Mojapele joins us for more on this. Sir, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. This is quite an interesting time for FlySafair if you consider just how much it's been able to survive in the sector. And I think that that's a really great place for us to start. As a low-cost airline, when we've seen so many of them struggle in the industry, but you've got pilots that say, we could be making more money. Do they have a point?
Yeah, they do have a point. But what we must also understand is that what should be the bone of contention here is the fact that SAF, ordinarily, they do have this tendency of being difficult in some of the things that they do. For example, this particular strike should have been averted quite a long time ago. I mean, last year, December, there was an issue that was raised by the same union that went on to strike when they introduced a new shift roster that was not favorable to the current conditions and the usual conditions that pilots operate under. And they raised some of those issues, and some of those that did not agree with that, they decided to leave the company and go to other destinations, other airlines in Europe and in Middle East, particularly around your Emirates and other airlines that are operating over there. But the fact of the matter is that low-cost carriers generally, they survive because the reputation is strong where they operate. They survive because they do have a lot of routes that are not necessarily too expensive. So the margins are quite low on that. So once you have a couple of days when you're not operating, you can imagine a dent that is going to cause in your operations and on your pockets. So they shouldn't have let the strike to be where it is today. I think they just did not negotiate in good faith for the situation to be deteriorated to be where it is today.
Yeah, I must tell you, what stood out is that it's not just, I suppose, a fight over an increase that is being made by Solidarity, the trade union, but also around scheduling. I don't know what you're able to understand about that. That scheduling also an issue for some of these captains.
So that, like I alluded when I started, you see the scheduling of pilots, it is something that is internationally regulated. It's regulated by ICAO, as well as the IATA and our own CAA, meaning that there is no way that the airline can operate without confining to those regulations that says the pilot should work X number of hours and they should rest after how many hours and for how long before they can get into the cockpit. And these are scientifically proven factors that manage fatigue for the flight deck. And if you are going to not adhere to those rules, you are in breach of safety of the airline, and therefore the Solidarity and the pilots, I do not think that they did not take that into consideration. Much as SAF is saying they are within the limits of the Civil Aviation Authority and the regulation, I do not believe that it would go or take them to a level where they are today. I do believe that there has been a fundamental reasons behind the strike that really compelled them to be where they are today.
Yeah, you did say earlier that it shouldn't have gotten to this point. And I'm keen to hear what you say about the kind of competition that FlySafair does have in the South African industry, because that maybe will speak to just how easily it is for the parties to find a middle point where they're able to meet. When you understand perhaps even the power dynamics at play in the aviation industry and who FlySafair, domestically especially, really is competing with, if at all, when we've seen airlines like Mango, for instance, struggle to make a comeback and such.
Yeah, look, SAFair has enough passengers. In fact, they dominate our skies. They have taken largely where the SAA has left, where Mango has left, where Comair has left. SAA does operate, but at a very small scale, and you can't really do without them. We will be seeing in the next couple of days how much tickets are going to go high because the people would choose to fly with the airlines that have confirmed that they will be operating. So that gap is going to be very much felt by us ordinary passengers that will be buying tickets and wanting to take the trips. But the fact of the matter is that airline like SAFair, they have an opportunity to penetrate the market. They have just introduced a Woodspruit route from Cape Town. They are now increasing frequency from Cape Town to Kruger National, Nelspruit, to 7 days from 3 days. Now, this tells you a story of an airline that is eager to grow and that is eager to penetrate South Africa, that is eager to resonate with all the South Africans. But what they tend to be wanting to treat our people in terms of remunerations, especially when the fact that this airline, by the way, it's not South African owned. 75% of it is owned by international, meaning that the euros that leave South Africa and then we leave our pilots with barely minimum that we can give them, at least remunerate our own people, even if the money leaves the borders, but just make sure that you pay our people. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I need to squeeze this one in because this really stood out. This coming at us today, the story of a man who was able to pass through the airport, OR Tambo, and pass through airport security while there were 2 hand grenades in his luggage. I mean, how on earth did that happen? You've got AXA that says, well, there's very limited control that we have over what happens once people have handed over their luggage, for instance, or where luggage is placed. What do you make of that? The security gaps that we have at a time when we're having so much talk about the security of our country.
Yeah, it is something that shocked all of us, I must say. In United States, FAA, they have a strict rule when it comes to what you can put on your luggage. And that rule is basically across the world. It's not something that is only for us. And for us to have left that space to an independent company that we say we want to blame another company, entity, which operates within AXA. AXA is a landlord here, and they cannot be shifting the blame to a third party who's supposed to be doing their job. That's not their duty. They need to safeguard our borders. They need to safeguard our airspace. They need to safeguard the airport parameters where they operate. What has happened here is an embarrassment to us, Naledi. I must say, I'm embarrassed because this was discovered by the Ethiopian authorities when the passenger landed in Bola International in Addis Ababa. That's when they realized that this passenger was led by South African airport to travel with these dangerous hand grenades that they have in their luggages. So the suspension of the head of the security at the AXA, I think maybe more heads needs to roll, not just Mzwandile Petros. I think they need to further engage others, because even in Cape Town, here in Cape Town, we had a similar situation last year where the security breach was there on an international flight, which I was actually traveling in. So this issue is not new, and I'm glad that something like this has been highlighted, and it can prove the point that the report that I have written to CAA last year about this incident that happened in Cape Town, it proves the point that AXA have been lacking in the security of the airports.
Yeah, so certainly something that needs to be given a lot of attention. But we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Really appreciate it. Mr. Phuthego Mojapele is speaking to us there. He is an aviation expert.